Hi, I'm James McGuire, and on today's video, we're taking a look at how artificial intelligence is changing software development. We'll also try to forecast the future of AI in software development. To discuss that, I'm joined by Jemiah Sius, Senior Director of Developer Relations at New Relic. Jemiah, very good to have you with us today.
Hey, James. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to join you today.
Excellent. So where are we now with the role of AI in software development? Is it still emerging? Is it on its way to being fully adopted?
No, I think we're still emerging. At this state, developers and organizations alike are experimenting with AI. We're going to see a lot of innovation in the next few years. So for software developers, we're still experimenting with the usage of AI, figuring out how to best utilize it, trying to better understand performance, cost management. And we're finding that it's great for crunching data, right? So automating tasks, going through data sets. And we're also experimenting a lot with the value of like AI code assistance. So we're very much still in that testing and development phase and figuring out how AI really will shape the future.
It may not be possible to quantify this. Is there any way to kind of give a rough estimate like, oh, it's used in 5% of projects or it's used in 40% of projects? Or is that, you can't even give that number at this point?
I don't think there's a number we can give yet. I will say, I think at least 80% of all enterprise organizations are testing AI, which puts it in the hands of a lot of developers. But I think for the developer market, it's really hard to nail down exactly what that count is for person to person. I would assume that it's pretty high. Like every software engineer that I'm friends with is testing and experimenting, super excited about it. We're all going to the AI meetups. But I don't think that we have the number just yet.
But I guess the key phrase is testing and experimenting. No one thinks like, well, I've used it in 5, 10, 15 products. I guess I'll use it in yet another one. It's still new in that sense.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So as AI plays a greater role, what are the key tasks you think it'll be performing more of? Like what will be the benefits?
Some of the things I mentioned, right? So data processing is going to be a great benefit of AI. It's going to be quicker than a human can get through large data sets. I think we're going to start seeing just the pace at how we're able to process data speed up over the next few years, as well as the level of insight that we can get out of the data that we currently have. Another one is, I think our deployment or CI/CD processes will be changed, just allowing AI to understand what the deployment process looks like and recommend improvements in your build paths or pipelines based off of the data that it's tracking, right, from the output of those systems. And then another thing I think is observability will become much more important over the next few years. I actually don't see a way for AI to be fully adopted without observability. So many more applications, so many more concerns. You need visibility into the performance of these systems. You need visibility into the data that they have access to. And we'll see AI change the observability industry to allow us to be more proactive, versus being reactive, right? So using AI to understand baseline performance and then make predictions and recommendations of like, hey, if your system is continuing to go in this direction, in 2 weeks, you're going to have an outage versus going the 2 weeks and experiencing the outage, having to triage, everyone's in the war room trying to figure things out. So I think those would be some of the shifts that we see from AI in the near future.
I guess I was thinking you were going to say AI writes a lot of the code. Being not a developer myself, I'm thinking there's a developer can say to the interface, write this chunk of code, and the interface will do that. Is it not actually writing a lot of code for developers?
Oh no, we're definitely using
Sure.
AI assistants. I think that's one of the parts that a lot of developers are experimenting with, and we'll see a lot of that as well, right? So using AI tooling to assist with writing code, doing some of the bits of the work that you wouldn't want to do as an engineer, right? So like a lot of developers aren't that fond of writing tests, and now you can focus on some of the code that is really important to you and then just tell your assistant is, hey, write me a test that's going to check for these things. So we will see some of that, and that's how we're leveraging it now. It comes with its hiccups and things that we have to manage, right? But I do see that as the path forward with AI.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about pros and cons of AI and software development. I know there's many pros, and we should talk more about the benefits. I want to make sure I at least touch on the cons, because I'm imagining there's many developers out there who are going, you know what, this system will write code for me. It'll do all these things. What am I needed for? Or maybe unless I'm an absolute superstar in the field, I'm going to be out of business. What would you say to those folks?
So pros, like I mentioned, rapidly speeding up work, reducing toil.
Right.
I think that AI is going to put developers out of business. Like, it's not going to replace the software engineer. And it's for some of the cons, right? Like, we're still figuring out how to resolve things like hallucinations. And that creates the need for a lot of human oversight, making sure that your, especially generative AI products, are putting out trustworthy responses. And that's going to require a person to kind of like oversee it, make sure that they're troubleshooting and finding these issues within their tools. And I also think that there's going to be a lot of regulation and compliance, needs that come down the pipeline, and that'll require people as well. So more so than replacing the workforce, I see it shifting the way that we work and think about the software development lifecycle. I think the role of a software engineer and some of the skill sets may change a little bit, but I don't see it replacing the workforce.
Interesting about the role and the skill sets changing. What do you see in that regard?
So I think for the junior level engineer, where you have an AI assistant that can write a lot of the code for you, I could see some disruption in that space, right? So the senior level engineers, I don't have too much concerns about. But now when you're getting into entry level and junior engineers, I do think you're going to have some organizations that's looking at how they can leverage an entry level engineer plus AI assistant to have more output, right? And so with that, I think the skill set of what we're looking for coming out of university or boot camps may, shift a little bit into looking for people that have experience in building and working with AI services, or have a background in things like data science or machine learning as, those very nice to haves now when you're looking for that software engineer to join your team, because they'll be able to come in and work with your tools or build some of those new tools, understand the way that the product's working. So I can see some of those things start to shift, right? So the expectation of your output will increase rapidly, right? So the time to deliver to market becomes shorter. You're expected to ship a lot faster, but also the skill sets that you need to be able to do that will shift a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk a bit about your job at New Relic. It sounds really interesting. So you do a lot of developer relations. What sort of issues do you work with in that sense?
Yeah, so my entire team focuses on the way that our customers use our platform, their pain points and requirements globally. So we're thinking about our users, the best way to provide them with technical resources and tooling, helping them write code, building example applications, putting a lot of technical research out into the market. So with AI in particular, we're tracking open source LLMs, how to build, like, what are the best practices for working with generative AI? What does managing performance and cost look like? We're trying to figure out how to find that balance between the two, and then putting all that data out into the market for our customers along their journey as they work to adopt AI into their services. And then a big part of that is just learning what we're doing internally, right? So eating our own dog food, because as we launched our AI tool, New Relic AI, we had to figure out a lot of these challenges, right? So for us, we're learning, we're experimenting, and then we're, giving that knowledge back to the community.
Right. All right. Well, let's look to the future. I think that's the big question a lot of companies are dealing with. It's like, where is it all going, and how can we prepare for it now? So what do you see as the future of AI and software development? And what will it look like, say, a couple of years down the road?
I think for me, the future of AI is really predictive. Like right now, generative AI it's exploded over the last few years, and everyone's experimenting with this one form of AI, which is absolutely helpful. It reduces the barrier to entry and allows a lot of even non-technical people to come in and explore with this new technology, right? So I think that generative AI is disrupting a lot of industries at the moment. But as we start to move forward into the future, we're going to see that folks go from using AI just to create into really exploring data sets, understanding patterns, and being able to create predictions as the future of where we're going with the technology. So as I mentioned before, to give an example, if you're running this large scale enterprise, your AI tooling will be able to understand issues that you may have in your underlying infrastructure without you being aware of it and make set recommendations, either exporting or creating the code that you need for a fix, or using what we've learned with generative AI in these few years to provide solutions that are of value before issues happen. So I do think the future of AI is just being predictability.
It's really interesting about the predictability. It seems like the system gets more able to make predictions if it itself has more information, if it is trained more. So it's like whatever predictions we can make now, we can make better predictions when the large language models are more trained. Correct?
Absolutely.
Incorrect?
Right. Absolutely. I think data becomes so much more important as we start to build and explore using AI, because it needs that data to be trained on. And that's also another part of what has to be figured out. Right. So a big part of that is how do we protect and secure the data that we're leveraging? How do we make sure that we're training our AI tools on our data versus, public data sets or data of our customers? So there's a lot of compliance and regulation details dealing with data security, data privacy that have to be worked out, because the data is going to be so important as we continue to explore and build with AI tools.
It is all about the data, no doubt. Jemiah, I think you said it. A lot of interesting stuff. I learned a lot. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise today. Please come back and talk with us again.
Sure. I'll be happy to join. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for the conversation.